Welcome to the Bottle Poppin' Podcast, where Meg and Heather share their love for oils, friendship, and entrepreneurship. Let's get it poppin'.
Hey there, this is Meg.
Hi there, this is Heather.
And we are the Bottle Pop Podcast. So Heather, what are we popping open today?
We are going to have a conversation about our strengths and how we use them in our doTERRA business.
Yeah, so specifically we're talking about the Strength Finders test by Clifton. And this is such a helpful tool. If you've never done it before, I highly recommend this book, Strength Finders 2.0. There is a 1.0 as well, I assume, but 2.0 is the one you want. And it just gives you a lot of good background information on what this is. But at a high level, this is that it acknowledges that everybody has strengths, and it's you identifying your unique strengths so that you can focus just on that. So perfect example is thinking about a professional athlete. Like the professional athlete who is amazing at basketball just continues to focus on basketball and get better and better and better. And maybe that professional athlete is not as good at American history, but what does that matter? Like their whole focus is on basketball. And so they just pour into that strength. But so many times we try to focus on our weaknesses and bring up those weaknesses. Whereas if we just focus on our strengths, now we can exponentially grow. And so understanding your strengths is really important.
And I think as a society, exactly what you just said, improve your weaknesses, get better at what you're not good at. And I think the people that excel at certain things don't spend a lot of time in that not good at category. They definitely focus on their strengths, improve their strengths, and then continue to rise and get better.
Yeah. So tell us, what are your top 5 strengths?
So to recap what Meg's saying, there is a book, but then there's also an online quiz that you can take. It is a bunch of questions that you go through. The way you answer them determines what your strengths are. Then you have a couple of different options. You can pay for just your top 5 strengths and then see how they can be used, or you can get the full report, which is 34 of your top strengths, and then print out a lengthy report, and it breaks down each of the strengths. So we both did the full report of 34 strengths, but my top 5 are harmony, consistency, responsibility, developer, and learner. And I am on board with all of those, but I have struggled with my number 1 over and over again because I have a hard time seeing how harmony, making everybody happy, making sure everybody's included, is a good business strength. But I'm working on that.
Well, and so then you need to explain what it actually says about harmony, because that's the beauty of this as well. Like one word doesn't fully explain what's really going on. And so when you read the explanation or even excerpts of it, it makes more sense as to how that works with business.
That is true. So harmony, it says people exceptionally talented in the harmony theme look for consensus. They don't enjoy conflict. True. Rather, they seek areas of agreement. Yes. However, I've had a hard time kind of figuring out how that best serves me in business. Yes, I want to make sure everybody's happy. Yes, I want to come to an agreement, but I'm also in it for a business. They're also in it to be able to receive a product. So I find it difficult to kind of use that as a top strength in a way to excel my business. However, diving deep into it, either through the website, through doTERRA's, they have different things that you can kind of look up on each strength to kind of hear a little bit more about them. And or Eddie Via with Unleashing Your Strengths has been a good resource that we've both used. Some of the other key words that they've associated with harmony are practical, efficient, and collaborative. Okay, that starts to make a little bit more sense to me, especially the collaborative part. Mm-hmm. And I think that's where this podcast, your and I's, business together, has really worked well for me. And I'm constantly still working on the harmony part because I want to make others happy, but I need to make myself happy too.
Yeah. No, I think the harmony is a good thing. And I definitely benefit because it makes it really easy to work with you. And so I don't know why other people don't want to work with you. So I think it's actually a really good strength to have in here.
What are your top 5?
So my number 1 is strategic, and I 100% agree with that. That it's interesting too. That totally applied in my corporate career previously. It applies to my nutrition business. It applies to doTERRA. Like strategy, really, it makes sense for me. Number 2 is futurist. And so it's somebody who's really good at visioning the future and what it could be. And that is also, I almost feel like that should be my number 1, but apparently it's my number 2. Number 3 is activator, which means I take action quickly. And yeah, that I definitely do. And that's actually a trait that drives my husband crazy because, somebody will be like, do y'all want to go to dinner? And I'll just say, yes. And he's like, no, let's look at the calendar. Let's decide what else going on. And I'm just like, no, let's take action. Yes, let's do it. Maximizers, number 4, which means I just maximize any type of situation, try to make the best of it. And then number 5 is responsibility. And ironically, that's the one I struggle with from a business standpoint. I think it is awesome for everybody else that I want to take responsibility for things and do take responsibility for things. But I think sometimes it allows people to take advantage of me, and not you, Heather. I have not experienced this with you. But in so many situations, I end up taking on way more responsibility than I need to, because if nobody else is stepping up and taking responsibility, then I'll do it, and
Okay. I can see that, and I can see where you could be taken advantage of. Responsibility is my number 3, and let me tell you, that's one I'm proud of because I feel like a responsible person. And the description in responsibility, it falls under the executing category, versus my harmony was relationship building. And I would tell you that I am an introvert in my head. I would say most people that meet me would probably assume that I'm an extrovert. I talk for a living at my physical therapy job. But executing, I feel like I can relate to those. Those feel better. But it says people exceptionally talented in the responsibility theme take psychological ownership of what they say they will do. They are committed to stable values such as honesty and loyalty. Sign me up. That works for me. I get it. I don't want to be taken advantage of, but I feel like my word is my word. You ask me to do something, I'm going to do it, and I can be responsible for that. But I see your side of it too. And I think that's where, when we're working with other people, especially if we don't know their strengths, we have to know that people come at things from different directions. So if you're nervous that somebody is going to take advantage of you, I think if we could take the time to kind of identify what their strengths are and then find a way to help them use that strength, maybe that balances ours a little bit better, where we feel like we're not getting taken advantage of.
Totally agree. Well, and I will say there's another layer to why I feel this way. And this comes again from Eddie Villa's Unleash Your Strengths book. But in this book, it talks about how each one of your strengths kind of plays into your personality. And number 5 is the way that you relate to other people. And so I think that's why I struggle with it more. And I can think of so many times in life, like in college, at one point, I was on the board for 17 different organizations, and I had 2 full-time jobs, and I went to school full-time. Like I did not need to step into all those roles, but it didn't feel like anybody else was stepping into the role, but because
see,
that's how I relate to people. It's like, well, if nobody's going to do it, I'm going to do it. I'll step up. I'll take care of it, And then,
but that also falls into achiever for me, for you. Like, I feel like that title, and achiever is in your top 5 as well, right?
No, it's not. But
okay.
I'm at Enneagram 3, which is the achiever. So
okay.
Yeah, that probably layers into it
okay.
as well. It is funny. I think we both have the lowest strength the same though, right?
And I struggle with it's adaptability. And I struggle with this one too, because I will tell you, I have always been a rule follower, and I feel like I want to meet the criteria that you are giving me. And maybe that falls into my responsibility as well. I want to do what I'm told to do. However, I've worked really hard to not necessarily go with the flow, but to be a little bit more open-minded, that not everything needs to fit within certain parameters. And the older I get and the more life experience that I have, as I became a mother, I feel like that's shown up over and over again. Everything doesn't fit into categories. I need to be open to things happening as they happen. And I've really worked hard on that. And honestly, it feels much more freeing if I live in that space of being okay with the fact that not everything fits in parameters. That said, if I'm low on adaptability, which the definition of that, okay, so that falls into relationship building. So my number 1 and my number 34 are both relationship building. It says people exceptionally talented in the adaptability theme prefer to go with the flow. They tend to be now people who take things as they come and discover the future one day at a time. Nope, nobody, nope. I'm a planner. I want to know what's going to happen. But at the same time, I feel like some of our families' most fun moments are when we wake up one day and we don't necessarily have anything planned. And it's like, let's go do this for today. And it works out great. That's go with the flow in my mind. But then it's my weakness. So, I don't want to play too much time on the go with the flow, but at the same time, I feel like I live okay in that space. So I don't know.
Yeah. I think when I hear the word adaptability, I think I'm super adaptable. But when you read the description, the part that stands out to me is the live in the now and not caring about the future. And again, futurist is number 2. And I feel like it should be number 1 for me. So as soon as I hear that, I'm like, okay, no, I guess I'm not. But I do feel like, and I think most people would say I'm pretty laid back. And I do go with the flow. Ironically, my word for 2024 is flow. So, but that's fine. Like, this is what I love about Strength Finders is that it doesn't matter what order they're in, but when you focus on your strengths, then you can grow. When you focus on your weaknesses and you feel like there's something you need to fix. And this isn't like you are perfect the way you are. You don't need to fix anything, but you can always grow. So just focus on those top ones and then you can grow from there.
Okay, so let's take this a slightly different direction then. People can go on and they can take the Strength Finders test and kind of figure out what their top strengths are. But I think that people that are not inside the doTERRA business, I will speak for personal experience. On the outside looking in, I think there is this initial fear of, well, I'm not a business person. I don't know how to do the business. What does this look like? First of all, doTERRA is fantastic at providing resources for the business. I think they have a lot of free training that you can access that is really, really helpful. But I will say for the first couple of years, I did all of the things on the training and it didn't feel like it was the perfect fit for me. And I think once I started leaning more into my strengths, my business actually started to grow a little bit more because I wasn't trying to fit into this certain mold that I was given. So I want people to understand that there is a certain way of doing the business. And there is a way that if you're meeting this criteria, then you can continue to grow your business. But that doesn't mean that that's the only way. And I think there's a lot of different options. So the biggest thing that doTERRA stresses is classes. Before 2020, classes were fun. I feel like I enjoyed doing classes. 2020 happened and I feel like that became obsolete. We moved online. Fine. That was successful for a while. And then I think everybody got fatigued of being on Zoom calls. So that kind of moved away from that. But I still loved educating. This podcast has been such a great way for you and I to still get to be able to educate. We've been able to reach people that we were not able to necessarily reach with our in-person classes that were covering only our local areas. And so for us, this has worked well. I still know many people that teach local classes in person. I know a lot of people that have just gone to one-on-ones where they are talking to somebody on the phone or meeting with just that one person in a coffee shop. I think that there are multiple ways of achieving the same thing. I don't think you have to fit into one particular way.
100% agree. And I think it's really helpful to understand what works for you. And I think just like you said, when I started out, I just thought I had to do everything that they said. But Strength Finders made me realize, and I kind of knew this, but I didn't have the words for it, but I am not competitive. And so one of the things, and I think a lot of MLMs do this. They have like competitions to win a fun trip or stuff like that. As soon as I enter a competition, I am totally unmotivated. I only like competing with myself. I hate competing with anybody else. And so like once I realized that, I was like, oh, okay, cool. I don't need to do Silver Club. Like that will actually slow me down versus pump me up. And so it's really helpful to know what your strengths are and to know that you just have to focus on your top strengths.
I do think there is one part that doTERRA emphasizes, that even though we're not doing the exact regimen of what they teach or prescribe, one part is still true, and that's the PIPES. Mm-hmm. So it's the standing for prepare, invite, present, enroll, support. Yeah. I like that part. I'm good at that part. But I think that even if we're not presenting in classes, we still prepare for this podcast. We still invite people to listen. We are still presenting information, and then we enroll when people are interested in enrolling, and then we support them. So we are still doing all of the aspects of the PIPES. And so even though we are not doing the exact class model, I think we are still falling within that certain guidelines.
Yeah, totally agree. And again, it's take your strengths, apply them in a way that makes sense and works for you. And I mean, that's the beauty of this type of business. All right. Anything else?
I think strengths is a really interesting topic. I think because it's different for everybody, I think it's easy to kind of want to just kind of absorb as much as you can about yours. And I think that's helpful. So I encourage everybody to take the test, get the couple of reference books that we discussed, and see how you can use that. And not just in your doTERRA business. I mean, Eddie Villa from the Unleash Your Strengths, again, he talks about how when he really started diving into his strengths, how much it helped him in his personal life too. I think that there's a lot more than just the business that this can help you in.
Totally agree. Yep. And we'll put links to all of these resources as well, in the podcast notes and on our blog. So you have access to that. But we appreciate you taking the time to listen today. We hope you found this interesting. And if you have any questions or want to reach out, you can reach out to us at any point on any of our social media spots, Bottle Poppin' Podcast, and then also through our website. So we look forward to hearing from you, and we will have a brand new episode for you next Friday.
Thanks for tuning in. For more information, you can follow these Bottle Poppin' ladies at bottlepoppinpodcast.com. Tune in next week to learn about what bottle we're poppin'. Until next time, take care. These statements have not been evaluated by the Food and Drug Administration. This podcast is not intended to treat, diagnose, cure, or prevent any disease.